I want to teach you, I want to show you this time. I think this is going to change the way you see astrology and also work with astrology. Hello, hello, my loves. Welcome to this week's Sovereign Goddess podcast episode. Shall we talk about astrology? And specifically, I wanted to bring this up because in Moon Goddess Academy, one of the main pillars is know thyself. Especially in my program, Goddess Unleashed, I bring in tools to help the women get to know who they really are beyond who they've been told to be or who someone else said they should be, like beyond the programming, the beliefs, the things that we've inherited, is like really diving deep to discover who they are. And astrology is one of the ancient wisdoms that I bring in to help them do that. I also bring in numerology, gene keys, human design, the wisdom of the tarot, all of that to help them get to who they are, the core of who they are. So I love astrology. Oh my gosh, I mean, I love all the ancient wisdoms, all the ancient studies, or what they would call the occult studies, because it really it reminds you of who you are. And, of course, when we look into astrology, we all start with our sun sign, right? I feel like there's more people who know their sun sign than anything else. You can ask anybody, what's your sun sign? And they'll know what you're talking about, right? Unless they're like, no astrology for me. But I remember the first time I read my astrology, my sun sign is in Virgo, and I was like, okay, I see this, right? There was something else that really changed me. And that's what I want to teach you. I want to show you this time. I think this is going to change the way you see astrology and also work with astrology. Each of the zodiacs represent an element, and there's usually a group of them. So earth, air, water, fire, right? A lot of times people will look at their sun sign, the meaning of their sun sign, and say, this is not me. I don't think this is me at all. And that's because our sun sign is just one aspect of the puzzle of who we are. You got to look at all the planets. You break it down. And our sun sign is what we show to the outside. Our moon sign is about our emotional self, right? Our inner desires, the hidden desires. Our Mercury is how we communicate. Our Venus is how we love. Our Mars is where we get our drive and our passion from, as well as how we fight, right? So, all of the planets, when you look on your astrology chart and you see all the planets, it'd be like sun sign in Virgo, moon sign in this. And the planets, they break it down, like each of them tells you a piece of who you are. So you kind of have to look at everything. I love this because a lot of the practitioners will say these are the big three that you need to focus on, or these are the ones that whether it's ascendant, your rising sign, which, by the way, if you didn't know, your rising sign is your soul. So if you want to know the truth of your soul, look at your rising sign. Like, it's just incredible, right? It's just incredible. But what I want to teach you, so if you know your sun sign, congratulations. If you know your moon, your moon sign with that, and your rising, oh my gosh, amazing. You are further along than most people. But if you know the other planets, if you add that wisdom to it, then oh, yes, yes, you are truly on that path of knowing yourself deeply. So, what I want you to do, and I think this will resonate, especially for those of you who, when you read each of the signs, and you're like, this is not me. Again, it's because it's not complete. One of it, your sun sign alone is not the complete picture for you. It's just one aspect of you. It's the part of you that you show the outside world. But there's also the part of you that it is within you. It's the moon sign, your hidden desires, your inner truth. And that's the part of you that people who you trust, the people that you bring into your inner circle get to experience, right? So again, your sun sign is just one aspect of you, and it's okay if it doesn't resonate with you, because that is an invitation for you to go ahead and look at the other signs. So this is what I've learned. And one of my favorite astrologists is Deborah Silverman, and she wrote a book called The Missing Element. And like when I got that book and when I heard her talk about this, it was incredible. It made so much sense to me. So she focuses at the beginning, like if you're just coming into astrology, she will introduce you to the elements. So she will say, look at your chart. How many of your signs are in the fire sign, earth sign, water, and air? And then you tally it up. And whichever element you have the most is what it shows a lot about how you show up in the world. So, for example, I'm a Virgo sun, my moon is Sagittarius, and my rising is Scorpio. Yes, my soul is Scorpio. Now, if you know me, you're like, that makes sense. Right? Like when I first found out, for the longest time, I had my birth time wrong. And so my rising was Capricorn, and I couldn't quite, I think I connected to it because my sun sign is an earth sign. So I was able to connect to the earth nature of Capricorn. But there was many aspects of Capricorn that I couldn't quite, like, that was not me. For the longest time, I'll look at Scorpios, I'll be like, oh gosh, like I act just like them. Like I get them. I get them. But I didn't know. I was like, oh, I wish I was a Scorpio. I had no idea. And when I finally discovered the true birth time and I put that in there and I saw Scorpio rising, I was like, oh, wow, that makes a lot of sense. That's how it can feel when you look at the complete picture instead of just the one, just the sun sign or just the moon sign. When you look at all the different puzzle pieces, it begins to make sense. When you know that your sun sign is what you put forward, that's just one piece of the puzzle. When you know your moon sign, it's your inner desires, the intuitive aspect of yourself, your dreams, your aspirations, the hidden desires, right? That's another puzzle piece. So if you have your chart, go ahead and grab it and then look at all your signs. So, whether it's Virgo, Sagittarius, Leo, all the fire signs are Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. The earth signs are Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. The air signs are Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra. So Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra. The water signs are Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. So look in your chart and just see, like it'll say moon in that, sun in that. So look at it. So for example, I have 6 planets that are in fire. And it makes a lot of sense because, most of the time when I ask people to guess my sign, they tend to guess a fire sign and it cracks me up. And although it makes sense, with the Sagittarius moon, what they usually don't realize is how many planets I have in fire, right? And then followed by, I have, yeah, 6 planet in fire. And then the rest, like, for example, I have 2 planets in earth. Even though I'm a Virgo sun, I just have 2 planets in earth. I have 2 planets in air, 2 planets. Two, yeah, is it two? No. So I have my rising in water and my Saturn is also in water. So two. There we go. There we go. I was like missing something here. So you can see I'm a Virgo. I always described myself as a Virgo as that I am the kind of earth that is like molten lava. I always say like I'm a molten lava. I'm a earth on fire and in movement, that nice magma that flows on the earth. That's me. And if you look at my chart, that's exactly what it is. I have a lot of fire. So yes, I'm an earth sign in terms of the sun sign, but a lot of the other signs are in the fire element. So this kind of Virgo is going to be a very fiery Virgo compared to other earth signs, right? So you got to look at yours. How many signs do you have in each element and which one is the dominant, right? And then it is like, okay. And if you're like, okay, what does that mean? Like, I want you to look at the attributes of the different elements, right? Earth, air, water, fire. Earth is groundedness. It's about the body. It's about the earth. It's about our physical existence. Water is about our emotions, our emotional intelligence. It's about our intuition, our connection, love, right? Air is about the intellect, the teachers, innovation, the inventors. That's the air. And then fire is the leaders. Fire is the igniters. Fire is the go-getters, right? The initiators. So looking at the qualities of each of the elements, whichever is predominant in your chart, that says a lot about you. In Deborah Silverman's book, The Missing Element, the second thing that she talks about is like, which elements are you missing in your chart, right? My first chart, like the earlier chart, I didn't have any water in there. I was missing water. And, of course, that was the wrong time, but it was still like interesting that, why am I missing the element of water? And that's kind of like the invitation I want to send you. Whichever element you are missing in your chart, there's two things. The first one is that it might be that you have already mastered the themes of that element. The second part is that perhaps you are here. That is what you are here to master. The interesting part is this, my first chart with the wrong time, where I didn't have any water signs around me. I also didn't have much water signs around me. My sister's a water sign, and that was my sister and my mom are both water signs. But in terms of friendships, I had a lot of earth and fire and some air in there, but it was a lot of fire and an earth and an air. But I didn't have a lot of water signs. Water signs eluded me. They're actually very very fascinating creatures to me. They're like this mystical, fascinating beings, on this planet. And they're so intense. They're water, but when you meet them, it kind of looks like fire in a way. But then if you look at the way water acts on the planet, right? Water can be nice and soft and peaceful, and it can also be rageful. It can be intense, like you look at the different qualities, even before you read about the elements, look at how the element acts in your life. How does fire act in life? How does air act? How does, earth act? All of that will tell you about the qualities of the elements and how that shows up within us, because we are that. We are all of that. So connecting ourselves to nature helps us to also understand ourselves deeply. So the missing element, whichever element you're missing, it might be that you've already mastered it. If that's the case, it's going to come very easy for you, right? But if you're here to master it this lifetime, right, then this is one of the ways that you are challenged a lot. Right. So in my first chart, I was missing the water sign, and I looked around me. I was like, I really don't have, any water sign in terms of friends around me, with the exception of my sister and my mother. And in the new chart, when it showed up, I was like, but water signs definitely challenge me. And I think they challenge me because first, like I'm mostly fire. I'm mostly fire in my chart. But because of my earth, I'm able to be the container for water, if that makes sense. Earth gives water structure. So there's this beautiful dance between water and earth. And, if we were to dive into, deeply into the teachings of the elements, some elements are better with each other than others. For example, fire and water, that you have to create this balance. Otherwise, it's going to feel like fire is trying to overpower, water, or water is trying to dim out fire, right? So when you recognize the people around you and what elements they are, and what element you are, you can kind of learn to like how to communicate with each other better, right? If you're, one of your coworkers fire and you are water, there's definitely going to be some kind of friction going on until you recognize that, hey, I'm not trying to dampen your fire, right? Once you find that harmony, they can coexist quite beautifully. But that is the challenge, that is the invitation. So, yeah, so my homework to you is to look in your chart and tally up how many signs do you have in each of the elements, and which element are you predominantly in? So when you figure that out, you can say, I am, for example, my sun sign is Virgo. You can say, I would say I'm a fiery Virgo because I have 6 planets in fire. So for you, for you, look at it, which one are you? Let's see here. Are you a watery earth? And what does that even mean, right? So for me, the picture is that magma. And it's like earth. I have that earth qualities, but I have the ability to move beautifully through life because of the fire. I have this deep fieriness that allows me to move through life. It gives me movement, it gives me flow. I'm not stagnant, which is typical of earth signs, right? So looking at yours and kind of dissecting that will tell you a lot about that. But go ahead and share with me, what did you discover? What are you? What elements are you predominantly in? Oh, yes, your rising sign. So if you want to dive in deep beyond your sun sign, the sun sign is what you put forward. You're not just a Virgo, you're not just a Cancer, you're not just a Aquarius, right? Look at your rising sign. Your rising sign represents your soul. Your rising sign represents your soul. So read more about your rising sign and see how that feels to you, and then come back and send me a message and share that with me. All right, my dears, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. And I'm going to be coming in to share some of my loves with you guys, and yeah, just share with me how you resonated with the information. And if you have any questions about astrology, let me know. I don't think I am adept or, I've been studying it for a while, but I would not call myself a master at it. I know many other teachers who I trust. And if you want to dive into yours, I would love to connect you. So let me know. But if you have any other questions, I have plenty of information so I can share that with you. Thank you for joining me for this episode. And until next time, have a wonderful day. If this conversation has inspired you and you would like to start the journey of your mystery unfolding, I want to invite you into my container so you can join the Goddess Unleashed, or you can join my Elevated Empath, especially if you're an energy healer, an intuitive, empathic. Then that container is great for you, because not only will you learn about who you are as an empath, but also the tools that can help you thrive as an empath. Goddess Unleash is where you go to truly learn about who you are and fully embody who you are. It's the path of the goddess unfolding. It's the path of the goddess you coming out to play. So if you're ready, I would love to work with you.